Fairly recently, I spoke about Kojima's keynote speech at the Develop Brighton event with Mark Cerny, where of course he spoke with a little bit of detail about the upcoming Death Stranding. I'll link the video in the description below this video, I haven't seen it, but he took the chance to stay in the UK for a little bit and do a few more interviews, and one of them was conducted with Sky News. Now, he was actually asked by them in a video about the British game industry, and Kojima had no doubt in his mind and actually went to Media Molecule as the best studio. And he said, quote, "First off, British music is awesome. It's the best music in the world. British movies are also fantastic. When it comes to games, I've never put much attention on where the developer is from, but if I have to answer that question about a specific British company, I would have to say Media Molecule. They are really great. I feel like they have a completely different environment and philosophy and style of making games. It's very different from any other place. What they're making right now, I don't even know if you could call it a game, but it's something I'm not able to imitate. The way they express what they're making, something that I could guess you could call original, you can't find anywhere else. There are many studios out there led by marketing, but for them it's very different." What game is he talking about here, you ask? He's actually talking about Dreams, the PS4 exclusive over in development at Media Molecule, and should be a beta in this year. And you might remember seeing it at E3 2015, I believe it was, where it seemed like another sort of creation tool, but with much more freedom to create and paint things, and it's really weird and surreal, and I'm definitely interested to see more on it. We've been shown very little so far that I'm aware of. But he also touched on the topic of virtual reality. The interviewer actually asked Kojima if VR can make as much difference as to jump from 2D to 3D, but Kojima actually saw beyond that, as he often tends to do. And he said, quote, "I think when technology changed from 2D to 3D, it essentially stayed the same as movies and TV. You're always restricted to its frame, this square frame, but now the frame is gone, so I think it will make an even bigger difference than the jump to 3D, and I don't think this change will only be in games. Eventually, it could make changes to our whole lifestyle. It might start in games, but will soon have a deep penetration in society. That is when we'll realise the true value of technology." And lastly, given that Pokemon Go finally came out in the UK a few days ago, he was naturally asked about this phenomenon, which has pretty much got the whole planet in its grips at the moment. And he said that he actually made a fairly similar game in the past, but this type of experience isn't a replacement for core games. Now he went on to say, quote, "I once made a game in the past called Boktai for the Game Boy Advance. It had a UV sensor, and the way this game worked is that it had to use real-life solar power to defeat vampires in the game. The interaction with the world is kind of what Pokemon Go works. It's important to look at new technologies to expand your options, but I don't think this kind of thing is a replacement. I don't think if something new comes along, you say, okay, this is a new thing, and the only thing we do. On the contrary, I think the more options we get, the wider variety of games we can see." So there you have it, some interesting insights from Kojima and to his opinions on virtual reality. It isn't the first time we've spoken about his opinion that virtual reality could even bleed into real life. He made some similar comments before when talking about Death Stranding. And I've actually never played this Boktai game that he talked about. It sounds really interesting, actually. It's probably too bad that you probably couldn't find it these days, but I'd love to try it. That sounds actually kind of cool. I've never played it or heard of it, to be honest with you. But still, interesting comments from Kojima. Nothing on Death Stranding, sadly, but thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.